My name is Bond. James Bond.
Well, we're back with On Time, and our guest today is somebody that is from a forum that is very near and dear to my heart called PuristPro. We have one of their moderators, I shouldn't say Mr. Dr. No, I'm sorry. We have one of their moderators.
Why not? Mr. Dr. No.
Mr. Dr. No. He's Art, but his handle is Dr. No. Welcome, Art.
Thanks, Chase.
You have a very important function on PuristPro since you're essentially the protector or defender of the innocent in the collector's marketplace. I know that you yourself described it as involving a little bit of black magic, but what you do is weed out, to the best of your abilities, the scam posts. And what I mean by scam posts are people posting watches for sale that they don't own and don't intend to sell. It's essentially bait to get you to pay them for something they either don't have but definitely don't intend to deliver.
Right. For our younger listeners, it's phishing, basically.
Yes. And keep in mind, this is not somebody that's selling a fake watch and trying to send you a fake watch, which is what everybody's watching out for. They're looking at the pictures really carefully to see if something doesn't match and to see if the pictures match the description. No, this is actually much more dangerous because the pictures and descriptions are absolutely correct. They're all matching in most cases, because the pictures are lifted from an actual watch that is quite possibly totally legitimate, but it is posted for sale by somebody who probably doesn't own it.
Right.
Art, let me first ask a question now that we've explained what's going on. About how often do one of these ads come up?
Oh, fairly often. I've never done any studies of this, but I'd say a fair proportion. Perhaps 1 in 20.
So it's actually a fairly high percentage. What does that translate to? Do you see one per month, one per quarter, one per week?
Well, it depends on when I actually look at the forum. That's for starters.
Okay.
I'm assuming you have other things to do.
Yes. And actually, in the last several weeks, I've been extremely tied up with personal affairs, so I haven't even looked at Collector's Market for a few weeks. But there are certain telltale signs. Some of them are basically subliminal hints. I have a feeling that there's only a few people who actually try and use our Collector's Market forum for illegitimate purposes. And one person has similar writing patterns. So it's fairly easy to pick up, after seeing so many of them, it's fairly easy to pick up that scam artist's writing pattern. Now, there isn't just one scam artist, but I think there's at least one person who tries over and over and over again, even though I keep finding him over and over and over again.
That's insane.
Clearly, there's a potential upside that this person sees. They're trying to collect a fair amount of money.
Mm-hmm, yes.
What's crazy to me is that one person would continue to do something like that over and over and over again on the same forum.
Yeah, but what's so crazy about theft?
Well, there's nothing crazy about theft. It happens on a daily basis.
Yeah.
But what is crazy to me is if you're able to pick up on certain patterns, you've gotten the experience with this person how many times? Like 20, 30 times? The number itself is kind of staggering. Like, have you not learned your lesson yet that you're not going to get away with this? I guess they're just planning on you having personal affairs.
I think they're planning on being able to sucker someone in before. Yeah. It's just a matter of time. It's a question of will someone bite.
Right,
yeah.
But that's really the only tactic that they have. They can only do this so long until they get caught.
Well, essentially, there's no punishment.
Right.
There's no punishment. They have different IP addresses each time they create a new identity for themselves. So it's basically a matter of sniffing them out and forcing them out, kind of like cockroaches. Mm-hmm. Now you shine the light on the cockroaches where they're nesting underneath your sink, and all of a sudden they just start popping out. Well, it's the same thing.
So we're talking about some pretty sophisticated guys here, guys that are not using price as a coercion tool. We're not going to see something like 50, 60, 70% off on a piece.
Yeah, it's usually on the order of 20%.
20%. Okay.
It's not like you're seeing something where you know, oh, it's too good to be true. This just looks like a good deal.
Yeah, it's not that I'm going to give you $50 million, but you got to send me $5,000 with your bank account first.
Right.
We do have our Nigerian scammers too.
Oh, that's a different category altogether.
Awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome, but it's obviously not so awesome. I mean, it's awesome to me because I have a twisted sense of humor. I've got a question for you. So one of the reasons that forums are able to do what they do is you build up basically an identity and a reputation online. So you're consistently posting, and certain forums, I don't know the rules on Purist, but certain forums will not allow you to do certain things unless you have a decent reputation or a certain number of posts.
Correct.
So is it the same thing with Purist? So these guys are on the forum and they're actually interacting and they're posing as watch collectors and or enthusiasts, or what are these guys doing to get up this reputation?
Well, we don't have posting limits. We don't have filters like that yet on PuristPro. I'm not exactly sure what the reasons are for that, but they don't exist at this time.
Mm-hmm.
It might be an upcoming update a system.
Got
An
it.
upgrade.
Okay.
When we do our next system upgrade, we might add that into
Got it.
the program. But as of right now, no. Anybody can post an ad on Collector's Market. One of the surest tip-offs is whether the person has 1 or 2 or 3 posts.
And you're talking about for sale posts, like
Exactly.
immediately.
Any kind of post. So the person is listing a watch for sale and they have a total of 1 post, and that's the 1 post.
Right.
That in and of itself is one of the clues.
Sure.
What I would like to ask you is, what is the craziest experience that you've had, if you've had one? Like, have you ever had one of these guys fight back? Or is it just you going through and you edit the post, you insert the scam warning or fraud warning, and they all disappear into the night, or they respawn into a new ID? Has there ever been a pushback?
Yes, there was once, but that's not the craziest. The craziest was a guy who I believe is our serial scammer. And he created an identity that I was sensitive to and called him out. And he was able to actually comply with my request for a photo. And it turned out that just a few days later, I can't remember all the details now, but I was able to sniff him out a second time. Well, this person, prior to my calling him out the first time, didn't have an avatar. After I called him out and cleared him because he was able to post the requested photo, inserted an avatar into his login ID. And the avatar was a cartoon character of either a little girl or a little boy who looked like a little girl thumbing his nose. And that's at that point, I thought, no, wait a minute. This guy is, psychologically thumbing his nose at me. And I was able to go back and figure out, yeah, sure enough, he is the scam artist. And I was able to call him out the second time.
That is funny.
You got a little cocky.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you actually have basically this, I don't want to say a frenemy, but you have this relationship with your serial scammer.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird.
It sounds like a series. It sounds like a TV series.
Yeah.
Could be. Could be the basis for a great TV show. You never know.
Is there any advice that we can give? Because up until now, we've been painting a pretty grim picture for the potential watch shopper online. These are legitimate descriptions of legitimate watches that do, in fact, exist.
Let's do this. Before we continue, let's do our best here to describe what these ads look like. I guess my question is, where are they sourcing these pictures? Because I'm assuming in a day and age like this, it's not that difficult of a thing to do, but it is kind of difficult to source a picture where it's so descriptive. And what I mean by that is, like you said, there is almost every single necessary angle of that watch posted. Like you can go through Instagram and you can go through a bunch of different forums, and you can probably steal pictures from those forums and or Instagram. But with the community being its size, I'm assuming there's some kind of crossover. So I'm assuming that there is a possibility to get caught. Some people that are on Purist are going to be on TRF or Time Zone and so on. And if they aren't getting these pictures from there, where are they getting these pictures from?
There are a couple of sources. One is eBay. Just in the last 6 weeks, there was I believe it was a 5370 posted in Collector's Market. And of course, the Patek guys on the forum were onto it immediately. And I was unaware that my colleagues were onto it when they were onto it. Let's say that was day one. I saw that posting and it smelled bad to me for a couple of reasons. And then I, just for the hell of it, popped in Patek 5370 into Google search. And the first thing that comes up is an eBay listing, and the photos were the same.
So that sounds like one thing you can do to protect yourself. If you're looking at a watch for sale,
Google is your friend.
yeah, search the internet high and low to see if those pictures appear anywhere else. Now, just because they do doesn't mean it's a fraudulent listing, because it's very possible that the same person will display the watch for sale elsewhere.
Yeah, but in this case, it wouldn't have been, because the legitimate seller was in Southern California on eBay, and the scammer on our forum was somewhere else. But that's only easy with something as relatively rare as a Patek 5370.
Right.
I mean, you're talking about a Rolex 1675. There are, I don't know how many jillion of them there are, but you can't really search for every 1675 that's out there.
That's true.
I have a suspicion that the more adept scammers are getting the photos from legitimate sellers from other forums and asking them for, let me have this photo, let me have that photo, let me have this photo, let me have that photo. And then after getting the photos, they stiff the legitimate seller, never having any intention of actually buying from the legitimate seller on another forum.
Gotcha.
And then now they're armed with a full set of photos. So basically the silver bullet is to ask the suspected scam artist to post a photo of the watch set at a certain time, date.
No kidding.
Generally speaking, when it's a scam artist, the response is, "Oh, I am out of town until such and such a time." Well, that just absolutely nails it right there.
Right.
But there have been instances the scam artist was actually able to pry that photo out of a legitimate seller.
You read my mind, because I was thinking that. I just thought, if they're very adept and they're stealing the photos from an active sale listing, then there's no reason why they couldn't request under the auspices of wanting to confirm that the legitimate seller is legitimate.
The fix to that one is if they have other watches for sale, and usually, generally speaking, the scam artists won't have just one. They'll have 2, 3, 5 at any one time. I will ask for pictures of 2 of them to be in the same photo.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Well, now you know.
Yes.
So Google is your friend.
And art is your friend.
And art is your friend, right? Dr. No. You
That's
can
right.
find him on Purist. And also ask for both watches in the same picture.
Yes. If you see someone selling a watch and they're selling more than one watch, assuming that this person doesn't have a good reputation and you have any reason to doubt them, just ask them to take a picture of both watches together.
And assuming that this person is not the best Photoshopper in the world.
Right. At some point, we may have to catch up to that as well.
And of course, the first thing to look for is the number of posts that they have, and to go through their postings. That's, of course, something you can easily do on PuristPro. You can search their previous posts. You can see whether they are strictly on Collector's Market, or if they actually have an online identity where they are interacting with other members of the forum.
So if you've got a guy that's basically just posting pictures on Sales Corner or wherever, any type of marketplace that's online, and that's it, and if they're not interacting, if they're actually not an enthusiast, that's either a really crappy seller or a scammer.
Well, not necessarily a crappy seller. There are some legitimate sellers who fit within that category. There are some legitimate sellers who insist on wire transfers. The set of characteristics that scammers have are shared with legitimate sellers. The trick is to sniff them out. And it's just a matter of a sixth sense.
So I guess what we're saying here is there isn't a totally black and white 100% way to guarantee that someone is a scammer when you see it, but there are certainly indications that should make you confirm to a higher degree of certainty. So just because someone has a low post count doesn't mean that they're a scammer. It just means that they're more likely to be a scammer. Just because they insist on a wire transfer doesn't mean they're a scammer, but because you have very little recourse, I would absolutely confirm I would never pay with a wire transfer unless I was 100% certain who I was paying.
Right. Yeah. Well, that makes total sense. Yeah. You know what? I have an interesting story. When I used to have an S2000, I was on the S2000 forums. And I distinctly remember now, this kind of brought back my memory of a similar situation where a guy was scamming people for auto parts, which is, I think, more common than watches, but who knows. Here's, in a nutshell, what happened. The guy was selling a fairly expensive carbon fiber bumper, and the guy who wanted to purchase it felt a little bit uneasy because for some reason he thought that this was going to be a scam, and he was right about it. And here's how we found out about it. he made the guy take a picture with a very particular drawing in front of the bumper. And the guy could not furnish the picture. So that's how he discovered that he was a scammer. I'm not going to say what the picture was.
I can guess.
You know my friends well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'll give you another example. Actually, what I like to do, maybe this is old-fashioned, I ask people for their phone number and I call them. And so far, I've never been able to speak to someone who was a scammer.
Mm-hmm.
I've found that people who are scammers will do everything possible not to give you a phone number where you can reach them directly. And that's another good indication to see if the phone number they give you matches the locale where they claim to be.
Well, you know, there's a little bit of a danger associated with something like that because telephone numbers are not a difficult thing to come across now.
No, not at all.
So if you are looking for a particular locale, you can probably achieve that fairly easy if you're a super sophisticated scammer.
Well, I'll be honest. So I've had somebody ask to confirm my identity, and I've said, look, here's my phone number. Call me. You can talk to me and we can ask me anything you want by voice. It's not like I won't have any time to formulate a response. Putting someone in a situation where they cannot concoct an answer to you is let's say, another degree or another way to protect yourself. There's no reason I can imagine why a legitimate seller or a legitimate buyer wouldn't want to talk to you by voice, or even now by video call is even better, because I can tell you that is, one of the almost silver bullets you'll have. If you can make a video call to someone and they show you the watch, then short of them actively choosing not to mail it to you, then you can be certain that they own it at least or have it in their possession.
Those are a couple of really great points, but that brings up a couple of concerns for me as a potential seller or other people that are going to be potential sellers. When you give out a telephone number, they're somewhat traceable. Even if it's a cell phone now. It's possible for someone I'm not going to say easy, but kind of easy to find a trace to that telephone number of where you are. We were talking about Instagram hashtags. Mm-hmm. Your phone number is the best hashtag. And associated with that is the video call. If they call you and they know what you look like, a lot of people, including myself, even though I'm on the internet everywhere, I don't really want to talk to someone who I don't know on a video call, unless I've interacted with them enough for me to get kind of an okay feeling. So you got to give it time, I guess, is just feel people out. Don't make any stupid, brash decisions. Don't be desperate to sell and or buy. And if you are desperate to sell and or buy, then use something that is a platform like maybe eBay, or have some of your friends on the forum like Art here give you pointers and help you out and assist with the posting. Is that something that you would do, or is that not a service that you guys usually provide?
Oh, I've done it on occasion for people that asked. Mm-hmm. Another thing you can ask for is references. We used to have an actual reference listing, which has been removed.
I tried to use it. Now that makes a lot of sense.
But you can always ask for references. And generally speaking, the moderators who have been around for a while know who the community is. So basically filter by post count and whether they are insisting on wire transfers and whether the deal is too seemingly good to be true. Mm-hmm. That basically takes care of most of it right there.
Those are your top three.
Just about, yeah.
I think we've got a nice little wrap there, a little present for our listeners in terms of how to protect themselves, because nobody wants to get ripped off, right? Or no, am I losing you here?
No, nobody wants to get ripped off. People have been ripped off to the tune of thousands. I'm not going to say whether it's 4 or 5 figures, but I believe 5 figures is in the ledgers. People have been ripped off for huge amounts of money.
There are single transaction or single rip-offs of 5 figures.
Yes.
And we're not talking about 5 figures cumulatively. We're talking about a single rip-off.
Single transaction.
And so the cumulative figure is huge, and that we're just talking about one forum. So this is real. It does happen. And the good thing is, for all of you listening, there are a number of people that are working to protect you as long as you care enough to protect yourself.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the number is. If you get ripped off, you get ripped off. It doesn't feel good either way.
With that, we're going to leave you with the end of your online safety. Think of back to those old PSAs from AOL 2.0. Be safe online.
Wait, is that the wrong one?
I guess that's true if you're shipping a watch or something else. This episode of On Time was recorded and engineered by Michael Senderovich with supervision by Tim Hatayama.
Team OTP is Kenshu Production and Savada and Dune on social media.
Our theme song was composed and recorded by Hubie Wang.
For the entire OTP team, this is Mike.
And this is Chase. Thank you for listening to On Time.